new neighbours at the top of the band. We need to ensure that measures are taken to protect the services being installed below. And there are the internal neighbours as well. And we should talk about cognitive radio, not just blank spaces. Cognitive radio has to be found throughout the spectrum, not just in the broadcast section. As for competition aspects, it is true that there is competition between platforms. We should bear in mind that the legitimate objective of optimizing the spectrum should not lead to a distortion of competition between platforms, bearing in mind that we're in a context where the land platform for radio and television has a unique peculiarity, which is free for the consumer, and they should be able to go on developing new services, 3D and others, for the benefit of the citizens and the final consumer. Thank you.
Thank you. Over here, yes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nigel Hickson, UK Government. Just to respond as a member state to some of the comments that have been made in the last half an hour, 2 hours. And 3 words, I suppose, come to mind. A famous British politician, an ex-Prime Minister, used to say, education, education, education. We've heard urgency, 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 and we've heard radical. And we've also heard commitment. And I think there's a combination of those words that we need to use in terms of moving forward. And what I'd like to do as a member state in responding to Pilar de Castillo, to Catherine Trautmann, to our Commissioner and to my friend the Spanish Minister is to say, let's be committed, let's be radical, and let's be urgent in this. And let ministers, when they meet in Granada in April, and let ministers, when they meet in Brussels on the 31st of May for the Telecoms Council, debate these issues. These issues are an essential part of the EU digital agenda. These issues are an essential part of the 2020 vision. And ministers must debate them and must decide and must commit to the sort of radical programme that's been outlined to us today. Because I think we need to pick up the challenge that Commissioner Kroes has put before us, that we need to be consistent, that we need to be honest, that we need to go back to our member parliaments and say this is what we have to do, that there are radical decisions to be made, that there are important decisions to be made in Europe if we are truly going to use spectrum and ICT as an economic driver out of this recession. So I think we have to be honest, and let us use the opportunities in front of us to debate these important issues. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll give the floor to Mr. Rosperan and Ms. Kroes, because both of them have to leave for another meeting. So first, Mr. Rosperan.
Yes, I'm not so much going to answer the last speakers because I pretty much agree with the points they made. Specifically, I agree with the last point made by my friend Nigel about the need for the governments to be committed as far as possible, and there are important meetings now which will have to look further at those commitments. What I want to do, now that this is the last time I shall be speaking, what I want to do is thank the ITRE Committee, Pilar del Castillo, Catherine Trautmann, the Commission and the Commissioner for organizing this meeting. It's been a privilege and an honor for me to play a part in this free exchange of opinions, to play a part in this democratic exercise. I feel prouder now to be a European than I felt when I came into this room. there's been an awareness of the importance of these technologies here, and I think now that with everybody's efforts together, we can take a step forward and we can become once again leaders in this sector. So thank you all for coming, and thank you for playing a part in this debate.
Thank you very much for being with us today, Mr. Rosperan. And now the Commissioner.
I just add my remarks and thanks to all of you, and especially also to the chair, for you did a great job. You gave everyone the opportunity to make his or her remarks that are important for the debate, and to give the Commission just food for thought, and not only food for thought but food for dealing with this issue. We are aware that what Nigel was mentioning could be put on paper and on the wall of the Belgian presidency, added to what was already put at the wall. It is all about commitment, and it is about commitment of all of us, and not finding out if our little issues or sometimes huge issues are completely dealt with 100%. We need to come to a conclusion in which we say we go for it, we have to go for it, and it is indeed something where the younger generation is highly connected with. And I think that just having mentioned that, we need to do what we have to do from all our responsibilities to give them an opportunity to say after a while, and that could be shorter than we are expecting, well, perhaps they didn't do the job for 100% as we should have filled in, but anyhow they did their utmost, and they didn't go for a slow and not clear solution. Thank you again, all of you, and especially the cooperation